Hello everyone, how you doing? And welcome back to Skye and Evan in the morning. And today we're going to be talking about Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Um, there's like three versions. There's four apparently. Apparently there's a TV movie as well that I didn't see, but I watched all three versions that aren't the TV movie.
Yeah, you've seen more than I have, but yeah, I did not realize that until recommending this that there were actually four. There's a one in the 90s that was like
Yeah.
released. It's all right, and the other one, the 2000 one, I think just called Invasion, that did not get very good reviews, and there's a reason why people usually think there's only one or two Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and
well,
it was your recommendation. You had already seen the original. What did you think?
well, it's funny. I think I mentioned that I watched the original in a film class, and it's
Uh-huh.
one of those movies where, you watch Bicycle Thieves to learn about the neo-realist movement, or you watch Suspiria to like learn about giallo filmmaking. And Invasion of the Body Snatchers is just like the quintessential like McCarthyism Red Scare
Yeah,
movie, where
absolutely.
the fear of the spread of communism, it's clearly just what the entire movie is about.
Yeah.
It's about the idea of people looking like us, but they're not really us, and they
Yeah.
mean us harm, and
It is
they'll
very
spread
hilarious
and
how on the
take
nose it is
over.
with all of that. It is just I
Yeah.
was laughing a lot because there's like some points that are just like hilarious. Like there's literally a moment in the original where he looks at the screen and says, "You're next." And I'm like, okay, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hilarious. I did not realize that in the remake, by the way, that was the original actor. It was clear that that was a reference to the original, the guy that runs into the car. But that's the guy from the original film,
Mm.
reprising the role. Um, to me, it is very on the nose and very direct. But to me, what I almost thought of today was it feels a little bit like an episode of The Twilight Zone, doesn't it? Just this really
Well, as
high
far as I
concept
know, the
sci-fi.
the original Body Snatchers was actually a huge inspiration for Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it feels like it, and that last shot to me is that note, because Twilight Zone is usually this simple concept, like weird stuff that you see. It's like whoa, and then usually it's the ending that's the zinger, the like oh, and you're meant to have that last thought that sticks with you towards the end, and I feel like that's the idea.
Yeah.
He's escaped this town and everyone else is turned. It's like, well, I'll just go and get help, right? But no, there's trucks and trucks and trucks of pods. There's no stopping
Yeah.
it. And the only human left who knows the truth is just reduced to shouting like a madman, saying, "You're next. Don't you
Yeah.
see?" But no one can hear him, and it's harrowing. And so the ending is some bullshit. I don't know if that was like studio interference, but it's such a stupid just Hail Mary to just be like, hey, day's saved. Like, fuck you, dude. It should have a bad ending.
Yeah. I think it would have been just a lot better if we never got the scene. And it's so funny because it's like once they figure out like, oh my god, call the FBI. It's so funny because it's like, no, it's a disease. You'd call the DEA. Why the FBI? Well, because it's analogous to communism. That's the whole point.
Yeah,
Like
well,
it's
I
very
can't
funny.
even.
Like the whole scene is just like I don't know. It's weird because I saw all three, right? I'm gonna say all three because I couldn't find the TV movie anywhere. I only heard about it from you, so I'm gonna pretend it are only three. Um, the the third one thing that I like, the 2007 one thing that I really liked was that they didn't have the bullshit like nobody believes us like part of the story, because with stories like this,
Yeah.
there's always like a huge part of like end of the first act, beginning of the second act, where it's like nobody believes the main characters, and it's just like it gets a little old because you're like it's true, so you're waiting for the movie to catch up. That
Yeah,
doesn't
very.
happen in the 2007 one. The characters actually all believe Nicole Kidman, so
Hmm.
But
It is frustrating with movies like
yeah,
this, and you have to be there in for the ride with the
yeah,
characters, and usually the characters like see something that's like a whoa. But in both the original and in especially in the '70s one, there is a huge sense of people just being incredibly dismissive.
yeah,
Like when the body is introduced, it it's just like, come on, man. Why are you like micro like analyzing, like trying to come up with explanations? Like, look at it for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So that can be a little frustrating, but I think one of the big things for me is that the second one is the longest one. It is 2 hours long.
yes.
The 2007 one is an hour and 40 minutes, and the 56 is it 56 the original?
Yeah.
56. Yeah, the 56 one is an hour and 20 minutes. And somehow I think the 70s one, the 78 one, is the one with the least amount of like substance to the characters. And maybe you'll disagree, but like, did you
Oh
really like the characters in the 78 one?
no. The thing that I found, well, again, here's the thing about this movie. I actually don't think it's that interesting of an idea. I don't
Really?
think it has a lot of legs as a story in long. I think it, like I said with Twilight Zone, I almost feel like it works as a short, just one-off idea in that whole like 2 hour runtime. Because
Well, yeah,
here's
I
the
agree
other
with
thing:
that.
you were mentioning the whole not believing in the characters. There's also a moment where you're like, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
They actually are doomed,
Yeah, there gets to a
and
point
then
where you realize
it
that they
feels like you're
are
just
not going
pressing a
to
button.
win.
Yeah, and you can lean into that. I think the original does it pretty well. I mean, they
Yeah.
literally like have to run to the hills, and in both movies, it does end up with like the police are after you, but like it's not the police, it's the fucking mob, and no one cares because there is no police
Yeah.
anymore. And
Well,
I
the funny thing is, do you mind spoilers for the 2007 one?
no,
Okay.
it's the same story essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially. It's interesting. The original one is more, just it is about communism. The second one, I think it's more about um
What
I don't even
this
know what the second one is about. We'll get into it. And the third one
I
is more
yeah.
about like like family, because it's the whole thing of like the main character Benel, who's gender swapped in that one, is caring about her son, and she's worried that her son is. Anyway, they figure out a cure for the thing, for the whole invasion.
A cure.
Yeah,
It,
because her child is immune because he had like a specific like type of like shit, I forgot the name. Thrombosis, I think. They had a type of disease, and not thrombosis. I forgot the name. Sorry. He had a disease that made him immune, so they made a vaccine from him. And so they figure out a cure, and everyone is happy ever after in the end of the 2007 one. So that is a big difference, and one thing that I don't
well,
really like, the point that the third one makes, which is very clear, they even have like a flashback in terms of like the dialogue that explains the whole movie. It shows up at the end, where it's like the moment where there's no more conflict and humans are killing each other and everything is the moment where humans stop being, humans. They're just, you know,
Well, this is another thing. I haven't read the book, but from what little I looked up in of the book, it doesn't have a hopeless ending where what happens is the aliens are more reasonable. They're not just emotionless, just drones. They do have a consciousness to them, and the idea is they don't live very long, and eventually they move on to a different planet. Like they like leave one small colony that die off, and they basically leave humanity. And it's like, what's the theme? What's the draw of that idea? It's about resource management in the world and how humans consume and are often replacing. But like life is so fleeting, and it's like, should we destroy our own planet? These things move from planet to planet. Like it's like Agent Smith and the Matrix with the whole like comparing humans to a virus
yeah.
thing. That
I
that apparently is
yeah.
more what the book was going for, whereas the movies are more in like not trusting your neighbors, and again that like communism metaphor, especially in the first one.
Yeah. It's interesting. You've not seen Peacemaker, right?
No, not yet.
So Peacemaker season 1 is the best version of the Body Snatcher story I've seen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty of that have done. I've heard there's a movie called The Faculty that apparently is also kind of like this. It's
Yeah.
not like a particularly unique concept of like
Yeah.
they are not who you think they are. Like what?
Well, obviously there's I think also one of the best versions is the Unity episode of Rick and Morty. which I
Yeah.
actually think gets into like the philosophical arguments for like, like it gets like the two extremes of like pure freedom and anarchy versus pure control, and it's like which one is better. It doesn't even give you an answer. It's like, maybe you need a little bit of both. Even the episode makes fun of it. It's just like, there's not an easy answer, and that does it really well as well. But I don't know, it's the thing is, I think it's a really great concept. I agree with you that it doesn't have enough to be a 2 hour movie. That's why I think that the 78 one is like frustrating, the most frustrating of the three, just because it's just like you're stretching this out way more than you have to. There's not enough meat on the bone for you to
Well,
keep going.
well, part of the reason why is the amount of characters. They're in the original, it's like a pretty limited cast, and
Yeah,
realistically speaking, what's the draw? Like the two, the guy and the girl.
yeah,
The point of the final tragedy is supposed to be when she turns. It's the final tragedy of the 78 movie as well. But the adding the new characters, like, well, we have a new cast, we have more that we can do with the story. But I'm like, it doesn't do much, because again, it's all fleeting, right? And it all doesn't really go anywhere, and they all get picked off one by one. So why did we need a bigger cast to get more invested in them, I guess? But I found it hard to get invested in them because, again, the dismissiveness and how long it take. Like, I'm telling you, when they're on the phone and he's like, I didn't give you my name.
yeah,
I didn't tell her my name. I'm like, don't you people fucking get it? They're all turned.
yeah.
Wake up. It's like, God.
It takes them a long time with him, especially. I don't know. It'd be more interesting, and it's part of what they do with the 2007 one, where people just catch on that people have turned really quickly, like just really
Well, I
quickly.
remember I did laugh because of, like, in a modern context, I think this would be it literally would be easier to pull this off back before, like, we had the technology that
Yeah.
we have, of, like, people would be catching on nowadays. I think this would be a very different movie if this happened in the modern
Well, it's
context,
why I
but
think it's interesting to have like three versions in very different times, like the 50s, the 70s, and the 2000s.
yeah.
Like there's like advancements in technology that were completely different, like ways we see the world. Um, it's it's interesting because, like, if you think about it, like the 50s one is like trying to like be this red scare, like communism is gonna ruin the world, it's gonna destroy, kill all of us. And the 2000s one is like basically, if at least the way I see it, it's trying to justify like the wars in the Middle East by saying, it's part of human nature to fight wars. So, it's better that than just like not having, freedom
How
and
does that tie in
autonomy.
with invade? I mean, every movie from the early 2000s in America is kind of tied to that. The
Yeah.
movies just
Well, it's
um
just a whole idea of like the movie's trying to say like, hey, would you prefer to be taken over by these foreign entities that are just gonna strip us of all autonomy? And even though we wouldn't have any like wars or whatever, we would at least,
yeah.
yeah, we
To
would like
peace,
not
it's
have,
better to fight. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like we would have we wouldn't have control, we wouldn't have freedom. So it's basically the idea of like freedom versus control, which
Well,
is obviously the whole idea of the book and the story in general, but as well it's just like more tied into like war things, because they say like, oh, we wouldn't be human if we weren't like fighting wars and killing each other, which I find just a very stupid and reductive way of seeing it. But
yeah, yeah, that is. And also, it's one of those weird things, like I mentioned, that I don't know if the whole emotionless husk thing is a thing in the book, but it is in both the 78 and the 56
yeah,
movie.
in the
And I found it
2007
funny
too.
at the end of the 78 one when they're all just at work and no one's talking to each other. There's like no small talk. I'm like, everyone just does their job. Everyone's the same. That's like the nightmare of communism to like an American audience, I imagine, is just I e- everyone's the same, but no one is even a person. Everyone
Yeah.
just
Well, it's what's
goes and
funny because
walks
in
and
the 50s one
telephone
they do
call.
the fucking like they make them farmers. They farm pods. It's like, yeah, of course you'd make them farmers because they see communism and that kind of thing. And it's like the 50s one is so much more overt because they're like they're inhuman beings who just want us to make us all the same. It's like, oh, you make us all the same. Is that what you want? It's like, yes. It's like, that sounds awful. And then he just like says, oh, once you get rid of religion and everything is so much better. It's like, it's very on the nose of like, yeah, they're trying to destroy
Yeah.
Western
Well,
society.
well, and the same with the second movie with like no love or like you won't hate or love, and
Yeah.
it
Well,
they
yeah,
go hand
that's the
in hand,
point
I
they drive
suppose.
with the
Emotion.
yeah, that's the point they drive with the 70s one is the like removing emotion, which I was trying to like
Well,
tie that into like a sort of like, I don't know, more well-rounded
theme.
meaning.
I
Yeah, because I was like, is it just doing Red Scare again?
I
Like 20
have a
years later?
different idea.
Uh,
What this reminded me of is when we watched The Exorcist, and you
uh-huh.
said that that movie had a really fringe, cynical view on mental health,
Yeah.
particularly psychiatry. And this is where Leonard Nimoy's character comes into the fold. Because in the 78 movie, he's this psychiatrist, and that's what it is. It's like, I I don't think like he's my boyfriend or whatever. I'm like, there's something off about him. I'm like, well, you should see him. I'm like, I don't want to see a psychiatrist. I'm like, don't
Oh
think
yeah.
of him as a psychiatrist. Think of him as this very smart man. And then he's introduced in this really overt rapey scene where he's like hugging like this distraught woman to her like obviously alien husband. And I was just sat there. I'm like, he's an alien. It's obvious. And but it's like no, I'm like, that's just what like shrinks are like. It's like, no, they're not dismissive and just like it weirdly like I found that character, the entirety of him, so strange. And I feel like that is more what the 70s movie is going for, a mental health idea, especially with women.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of like women acting emotional and
Yeah.
just needed to take their pill to go to sleep at night. But even that doesn't feel like it connects the whole movie.
Yeah, I was
It's
wondering because
strange.
it kind of felt like I thought, oh, it's like, oh, is the movie gonna go on a woke route of like a believe women thing? But they don't really do that. Like you just
Well, hilariously, that the 2000 you said they gender swapped the now
yeah,
with Naomi Watts is that. I'm like, I'd be interested what that would be like
not
with
Naomi Watts,
her
Nicole
being the
Kidman.
lead.
I
Yeah.
confuse the two
Or
all the time. But
my
yeah,
bad. I haven't seen it. In my defense.
no, yeah, but those
Yeah.
two actresses, I confuse them all the time. So it's uh,
Um the 70s movie was weird in that regard. I feel like that is probably the closest to something that connects the whole movie together, but
yeah.
and
Yeah, it did
like I said, he
feel like
gives
they had a very weird view of psychiatry, of this like boogeyman. It was just like, oh, if you need to go to psychiatry, you're crazy, you're losing your mind, and it's gonna, you know, yeah,
and like I said with The Exorcist, it's one of those things where it's like it definitely is a product of its time. We've come a long way in 50 years. Like
yeah,
more people are getting mental health, like, and it's great. But what I like about The Exorcist is that movie, even though it does seem to have that cynical view of psychiatry, like Father Karras is a psychiatrist and a priest, and he's a skeptic, and the whole movie itself is more complex. It explores different ideas, and it's not just about mental health. It ties in with religion and skepticism. So, but Leonard Nimoy's character, like I said, unless the implication is that he was human at the beginning, at which point I'm like, then you're just a fucking creep. That moment when he just attacks Jeff Goldblum and then like fucking interrogates the woman and is like, did that make you feel like
yeah. It's like, did that make you? Did
I
you get
was
shocked or whatever? It's like, what are you doing? What's fucking?
I was so taken aback by that. I'm like, is that what they think psychiatrists are like? But is that what they were like in the 70s? I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
It was so strange to know what they were doing with him. And when he got in that car, I was just not surprised in the slightest. So yeah, disappointed at the villains and how they handled that in the 70s movie. And this is the one I recommended. I recommended the 70s one. And
yeah.
I found it surprising how underwhelmed I was when I had heard that this was like the better version. This was like The Fly or The Thing, where there was a 50s version and then there's one from the 80s ish that is better. I'm like, I don't feel the same. I preferred the 50s one. I thought it was briefer in a good way, and
Yeah,
this
I
one
think
felt more
yeah.
like it was wasting around.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think the length is the biggest thing that separates um all three movies for me, where it's just like I think the original is the best one, and just because it's like, I was watching Minority Report last week, and I was thinking like, I know this is a weird tangent, but trust me, there's a point to it. I was watching it, and I was talking to a friend while we were watching it, and we just thought like, damn, they're doing like everything possible with this concept. Like they're going through every route. Like it feels like a movie that's exhausting all the
Yeah.
possibilities of the concept, which is, to the movie's credit and to, its fault as well, because it's like to a point it gets like, movie should have already wrapped up. You don't need to like, you know, talk about every single detail of what this concept would entail. But at the same time, it is interesting that you're exploring all of it. I think with this concept, even though I
Yeah.
think it is an amazing
Played.
concept, an amazing idea, the Body Snatchers one, I think the original one, just being 80 minutes, works a lot better because there's not too much you can do. Like you said, when you get to a point of like, they are going to lose, so what are we going to do?
Well, honestly, that was part of the disappointment for me as well, was I was hoping they would do something more, because the original movie is a pretty small town, just a doctor, a couple of people in this small little California town figure out about this, and then it spreads and the only escape. The whole thing here is the main character works for the Department of Health. I was thinking there would there'd be maybe they'd find pods or something like that, and they baited at a point where it's like, quarantine, right?
Yeah,
But then he just calls on the phone and no one's listening. It's like, I guess they're all aliens. What you could do is you could have a more macro, like maybe even focusing on world leaders. You could have like someone that was like
yeah,
relatively low in the ladder, like politically, like someone like almost like an analyst or something that was trying to convince the higher ups to do something, and then you could build to some sort of a conflict or like
yeah,
war. That'd be a more rounded like exploration of this theme
yeah,
and idea. But
yeah,
I feel like both the first and the remake, they're they're comfortable keeping the premise small and ending it in just a really nihilistic way,
yeah.
which
So,
also
sorry, go.
turned me off from the second one, because I do feel both endings are kind of nihilistic. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm like, I would prefer an 80-minute nihilistic movie to a 2 hour plus one. Like,
Yeah. So two things. First off, you might want to check out the 2007 one. It has a lot of the stuff you're
you
talking
don't.
about.
I'm surprised you gave them all like essentially the same ranking. Like we always like are bashing number
Yeah.
rankings, but I'm like, it got really bad reviews. Like people just did. There's a reason why it's forgotten, and I'm like, you don't seem to be like downplaying it too much.
Yeah, it's not. Well, the thing is, I don't think all like any of the three movies is like that different in quality from like any of the others. I think I think it's because like I really love the concept, but I don't think it's like executed all that well in any of the movies. I think it's done the best in the original, but at the same time, that film is like so like caught into the like Red Scare thing that treats like communists as non-human that I'm just like put off by it. Like I think it's done the best, but it's just like it just makes you think like, okay, you just think it's like they're not
Like I
human.
said,
Like it's
that,
wow, it's product of its time. I get it, but it's it's like I watched Peter Pan a couple
well,
weeks ago, and I'm just like like the whole Native American thing in that movie. It just turns me off, and I get it, it's a product of its time, but
well, not even product of its time. It's just that movie feels like it's committed to that metaphor, and it doesn't have to. It has something specific to say, and
Mhm.
if you don't really care for that, then it's
Yeah.
like, well,
Well, it's
that's
why
kind
I
of all the
say
movie's going
it's
for.
done better in Peacemaker. Like it's the best one I've seen because it actually uses it to explore a facet of Peacemaker's character that is very interesting and get him to like a point where he changes from who he was in the Suicide Squad to who he is at the end of season 1. Like there's a huge arc he goes
Hmm.
through, and it's like very justified by the way they use the butterflies, as they're called in Peacemaker. I'm not giving away too many spoilers. Like it's
Yeah, they'll eventually get there one
yeah,
day.
but yeah, I don't know. It's weird, and it's like I I I I like that they've done it well in Peacemaker, but I wish there was like a good version of this movie, like the 2007 one, the Invasion. It's called. It feels like a movie made by the same people who made 28 Weeks Later. And I say that as like someone who hates 28 Weeks Later. It just has that vibe, of like it just feels like a 2000s movie that just wanted to cash in on like, the running and quick cuts, and there's so many points where it's just like it's edited like the first Saw movie, and it's like Jesus. And I like the Saw movie, but it's a guilty
One of those
pleasure.
acceptable early 2000s movies just had a kind of generic director that
Yeah.
did fine, and yeah,
It just feels weird. It
I
has a
might check
weird
it
color
out.
grading and everything. And it's just like it doesn't do too much with the concept. Like it's not trying, I hate the term elevator horror, but it's not trying to be that, It's not trying to have like anything too meaningful to say. It's just the story of a mom saving her kid. Which is fine, but they don't really explore any of the characters too much. Um Daniel Craig is good in it though, but yeah. I think in all movies, it's just like I was a little disappointed with what they did with the characters, because the concept itself is very interesting, but the stories in none of the three movies feels all that special or interesting. It just feels like, okay, you had a cool concept. Like if this was a short film, it would be like amazing, but because it's a full length, you know, feature film, it's just like maybe you could have done better. But I do think the original one is the one that does it best.
Yeah. I do love the cinematographer. I believe Michael Chaplin's how you or Claplin, something like that. He did the cinematography for Taxi Driver actually, and worked with
Oh,
Scorsese. You can tell, like it feels like the vibe, especially like night cinematography. It definitely has like a Taxi Driver edge to it. But yeah, I beyond that, and I mean Donald Plus, like it's cool to get Donald Sutherland. Really good performance there, and like, and again, Jeff Goldblum. Like, I was surprised at some of the actors that were in this, but the characters did not work that well for me in the '78 version. So, you want to talk about the ending of the '70s one? Because did you know about that? Like, I knew about that. I feel like most people who know about Invasion of the Body Snatchers like know the ending.
I did not know beforehand. No.
Oh wow, what'd you think of that moment?
I don't know. I thought it was cool to leave on a moment of like she thinks she's found like uh a person she can trust, and turns out he's turned. I thought it was a pretty nice moment. But
Yeah,
not
the
nice in terms of
editing.
like, but nice as in well made. I liked it.
Yeah, hell of a like scare. Like I said, I'd known about it, and
I
this
definitely
is actually
seen that
something.
shot before, but I didn't like clock it that it was from this film. That was like the thing for me.
Gotcha. The one of the things that I did laugh a little bit at, because I've called like this concept a little bit nihilistic, at least how the first two movies did it. But I was struck a little bit by that character. I forgot her name, but she blends in. She claims that she can like stay emotionless and
Hmm.
stoic, and they won't be able to tell because they seemingly don't have like just the ability to recognize you by your own look, same as you can't recognize them. But I did cling to that idea where maybe there's more out there that are like pretending that can go. It doesn't seem like it's completely hopeless. It's just a tiny little smidge of hope, but
Uh,
it's something. But I did like that ending where you question if he's just faking, because there's that flashlight shot of like, ooh, did he escape? Maybe you didn't see him. And it's like, is he just fitting in and wishing? But no, he turned into one of them. And it's maybe they'll get her too, and no one else will be. It is pretty memorable, but I'd known about that, and that's different from the original movie. But a lot of the other changes they made, they did not stick out as particularly better than the original, and in large part, the '70s version just felt like a longer version of
Yeah.
another film. It just works better. So
The 2007 one has a similar moment with Nicole Kidman and her kid, where we don't know if the kid has turned and she's like faking. So it's like, oh, they're just staring at each other as she enters the room, and she's like trying to figure out a way to like communicate with him in case he hasn't turned, but that doesn't give her away. And it's like, it's very, I like that moment a lot. It kind of feels similar to that, where it's just like the ambiguity of like, oh fuck, did she make it? The difference is, by that point we already knew the kid was immune, so the movie revealing that he's immune was like, oh, I already knew that. But it's a nice moment anyway. It reminds me of that the whole like ending of the second one is like, oh, did he turn, did he not? And this is something that I find interesting as well. It's I think with each version it gets more blatant, the whole like uncaring, like emotionless drone thing. Like, because I think the 50s one, it kind of feels like they're not that emotional. Like the way they explain it in the
no,
beginning is like, it's not that they're emotionless, it's that there's a pretense of emotion. So it's like they feel like humans, but there's it's like something off. You like the way my brain rationalize it is like the uncanny valley, where you just feel like something is off about the person, but you can't quite put it, even though like they're acting normally. Like that's the
yeah, I
way I
feel
saw it. And the other ones, it felt like, okay, they're very much just like
emotion
emotionless.
that yeah, like Flower, like what's the first thing? Like she wakes up, I'm like, how long you been up? Not long. And he just walks off and like, hey,
Yeah,
do you know what's some breakfast? Just like walks emotionlessly. It's like, oh, I must have said something to him to make him mad. I'm like, everyone acts that way, just like
yeah,
quiet, barely says anything when they do, like
yeah,
completely stoic, not a drop of emotion in their voice. That's not quite the case in the
yeah,
50s. I almost felt like that was more a hive mind thing. It's arguably the case
yeah,
with all of them. They're kind of connected and similar in tone, but
yeah.
from what you're describing,
Yeah.
at least with the 2000s one, it seems like they're most emotionless and
Yeah, it seems like, I think
oh,
with
the
each movie they get more emotionless, and it's just like, I I don't know if it's like there's anything inherently better or worse in terms of like that, of how emotionless they are, but I think I prefer the 50s version, just the whole like, they are um they're
well,
basically human, but there's like some uncanny valley thing where you're just like, you can place that there's something wrong, but you don't know what it is. Like, I think that's more interesting than just like being able to tell that they're all emotionless, you know?
well, not to mention, I do think like characterizing the aliens to a degree should be something because they kind of have a similar scene in the '70s version, but it feels hollow. Like, dude,
Yeah.
you don't seem happy at all.
Yeah.
It
The
doesn't even seem like
2007
anything. Yeah.
one, I think, is better in terms of showing the better than the 70s one. In terms of showing the aliens, it's like why they're doing what they're doing, like, saying, showing them happy and characterizing them a little. It seemed like, well, it seemed like the justification Unity uses in Rick and Morty, to just be like, I stopped the wars and everything, like, I'm keeping them happy, and basically, it's funny because I rewatched Adventures recently, but it felt like the whole speech from Loki, where it was like, I'm here to free you from what? Freedom. That's
Yeah.
the idea I feel with the 2007 one. Um, of just like taking
I'm
away people's
legitimately
agency to like take away their drive to like kill each other, I guess.
yeah, you did your homework way more than I did, but I legitimately am curious to check out that 2000s version as well as the 90s if I can find it, but I cra- funny how expansive this is because we've been mentioning that there's been TV episodes that have borrowed
Yeah.
from this concept, and obviously there's a bunch of adaptations of the story in the main. What I find funny is I did not vibe with the '70s one. I'd
Hmm.
heard that it was a superior remake, and I think I prefer the original 56 one. So
Yeah.
I would you recommend the 70s? Because I wouldn't actually. It's funny to say, but I don't think I would. I think I'd prefer.
Yeah.
I think I'd recommend this 50s.
I I don't know. Because I didn't really like any of them,
Any of yeah.
but I didn't dislike them. You know, like it's an interesting concept, and the concept alone is enough to get me through the movies, especially the first one because it's so short. So it's like you may as well. So like I'd probably recommend the 50s one. The 70s one, it drags so much where it's like I don't know if I recommend it just because it feels like wasting time a little. It feels like you know. And the 2007 one, I think there's some interesting stuff there, but it feels like it's not doing anything too new with the concept. I think it's an improvement over the 70s one, but it's not like whoa. So I don't know. I think if I were to recommend any of them, it would be the 50s one, but even then it's not that great. If you've heard about the concept of like the body snatchers, then you already know how the movie's gonna go. There's not much point to like watching it because it's not that entertaining. So bottom line is watch Peacemaker season one.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
my
just
take.
laughing. There's different like Secret Invasion even. There's so many that have taken a
Oh yeah,
page
Secret
out of
Invasion. Yeah,
Invasion of the Body Snatchers that it's a funny idea that here we are and we're not really recommending the one that most people are like, this
yeah,
one got it right. I'm
yeah,
like, I don't think so, man. Huh.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't
I
know. Yeah, it's very interesting movies. I appreciate the recommendation because it's like one of those movies that you have to watch. It's the Body
yeah,
Snatchers.
I
Everyone's watching it, so talked about it.
straight up, I just looked up horror movies like there. I was looking for stuff that I'd seen a lot of like the more iconic stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to check that out. I've always like it's been just something just like The Fly and the original. I'm like, it's one of those classics that everyone recommends. So
Yeah. All right. Well, Evan, it is my turn to recommend something. I
it
now
is
started a
indeed.
letterboxed list with the stuff I want to recommend, so it's easier for me to keep track instead of just fumbling every time like I usually do. All right. I will recommend. Okay, I'm gonna recommend a movie called The Taking of Deborah Logan. It's a
The
horror
Taking.
movie, and I
Ah,
remember watching it in 2021 or whatever, and finding it the scariest movie I'd ever seen. I'm curious to see it in retrospect. Um,
I actually, yeah. It's so funny. There's a couple of movies like this that have they look like a shitty throwaway, like who gives a shit? Like it's
mhm.
like, oh, that's probably like 10% of Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, nah, it's actually pretty good. And this is one of them that I'd heard. There's another as well. Like I don't know if it's called The Body of Jane Doe. There's a couple of movies like this.
Yeah,
The
the
Taking of Deborah
autopsy
Logan. Oh,
of Jane Doe, I think. Right, the one with Daisy Ridley.
yeah.
Yeah,
Damn. Okay, The Taking of
the
Deborah
Deborah
Logan.
Logan.
I
Yeah, I
know
I don't.
damn near nothing.
Yeah, I remember loving it and thinking it was the scariest movie I'd ever seen. I am just curious how much I'll like it in retrospect, but I do think it'll be an interesting watch. I remember it being like terrifying, and I'm not easy to scare with horror movies, so that's why I'm, you know,
Yeah. I I got one that might be a recommendation next because I'm looking for something that is actually scary,
uh huh.
Like I think the last movie that really got under my skin was Hereditary. Like when I watched it in theaters for the first time,
That
that movie
movie's,
spooked the hell out
yeah.
of me. But
The scene with the banging the head in the fucking attic door,
uh,
the that's like upside down attic door. It's like wow, that shot like really, I remember being terrified. So yeah.
yeah.
Actually, I have a list on Letterboxd called the scariest movies or whatever, which is like I think 11 movies that have actually genuinely scared me. I think it's called Genuinely Scary Movie. Because I'm not easy to scare with horror, even though it's my favorite genre, and Hereditary is one of the ones there. So
Well,
yeah.
I'd imagine that people whose favorite genre it is would probably be less scared.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Some people
just
like
watch.
horror to be scared, you know? Like, I mean, that was the draw in like 80s, 90s, like horror, just like to
Yeah,
be scared. It's not the kind of thing that draws me into horror. It's more the themes and explorations of like some deeper human things
yeah.
and faith and everything that I
Well,
find really interesting rather than the horror itself.
Well, I always find that funny as well. Like something like The Exorcist. Like I don't necessarily find that scary, but I'm like, it's a great film.
Yeah.
There are moments that scare me, but I don't find the overall experience necessarily terrifying. So
Yeah.
any good horror movies like that anywhere where it's a great film in and of itself, even if you're not scared. But
Yeah.
you would hope to be a little like creeped out when you watch a movie like that.
Yeah, it's interesting because like a movie like that, like The Exorcist, I just don't find scary at all. Like I don't think there was a single moment where I was scared, whatever. But it's not like a fault with the movie. It's just not the type of thing that unsettles me. Like things that unsettle me are hard to come by. I think one of the ones that really gets under my skin is Gerald's Game. You know, because of that whole
Ooh,
like
the
the gore, I guess.
corner and
It's very
or do you mean
graphic.
the actual hand, like the oh
Yeah,
god,
that scene
yeah.
is fucking it. I hate it. Like I love it. It's amazing, but I hate it. You know. So yeah,
Mm.
I don't know. Very
All
few
right.
horror movies that scare me. This is one of them. Arguably the scariest, if my memory is not failing me. So yeah.
I am curious to see what I think. I will go in blind.
All right.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, folks. Our discussion of three fucking body snatchers movies.
Yeah, I think you might learn a little something. Anyone expecting just a casual review of the original 78 one, I'm like, you got a lot because Skye did her homework.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Yeah, we'll catch you next week for the taking of Deborah Logan. So yeah, see you later, folks. Bye bye.
Bye bye.